Hey, good morning. I don't know how long this video is going to be or how much rambling I'm going to do or jumping from one place to another. But I've been told by a bunch of people that, I have to tell my story, how MTR Camo got started, my background, because people care about that sort of thing. And so forgive me because I'm not the most charismatic person in the world. I'll always be a hunter and a guide at first, and I'm not an apparel guy or not an entertainer in the slightest. So I'll try to get through this the best I can without rambling on. But I do understand, people spending their money kind of want to know, what they're investing in. And so I guess I'll get on here and tell as much as I can without rambling on too long about my background and the story behind MTR Camo and how it all got started. I've done a couple Facebook lives, but it was pretty quick and didn't hit on a lot of stuff. So I guess I'll just start with my background, how I grew up in Turkey, and forgive my parakeets. But I grew up, my dad taught me at an early age, took me hunting at an early age, thank goodness. But nobody in my family, turkey hunted. We always, we deer hunted, squirrel hunted, rabbit hunted, dove hunted, just about everything but turkey. And it wasn't until I was 16 years old and we had a lease down in Coleman County, Texas. And for up until then, in springtime, I fished bass tournaments quite a bit. And so that was what I was doing in springtime most of the time, that or crappie fishing. And when I'd get a chance to go, I would go, after I shot my first turkey, I would go turkey hunting. But I was oblivious to calling to turkey. I just knew about turkey from basically deer hunting, watching them and hearing them talk to each other, and seeing places that they like to walk naturally without any human influence or whatsoever. And so I paid attention to all that, and all that stuff computed in my head, and little did I know that it would pay off now. Because like I said, I've watched them and hunted them for years without ever making a call to them, with the exception of maybe the first first couple turkeys that I ever killed in springtime. Matter of fact, the very first turkey I ever killed in the spring, I actually called up with an owl hooter, one of those old, I think it was Hunter Specialties, but don't quote me on that. It's one of those old cylinder type owl calls with a little tube on the top. You blow in it. It actually has on the back of the package, who cooks for you, who cooks for y'all. And I want to say that was Hunter Specialties, but I'm not certain on that. That's been years ago. But that turkey actually came in gobbling, strutting, just like I was doing a yelper. I had a regular hand call. And that's kind of what sparked my interest. Even then, like, I was still oblivious to calls. Like I said, nobody in my circle or my family turkey hunted. And so years went on, and I would just turkey hunt when I had the chance, when I wasn't fishing a bass tournament or whatever, plus baseball. I played baseball until I was 24, 25 years old. And, that was kind of the busy time. So I might get to go 2 or 3 times a spring, maybe, if that. And so years went on up until I lived up in Kansas, went up to college there and played ball up there. And, of course, Kansas, anybody knows, if you like to hunt and fish, that's a great place to live. And so I hunted turkeys up there whenever I wasn't playing baseball. And it's still the same thing, I would just watch them, scout them, and basically hunt them the only way I knew how was just like deer. I'd find where they like to walk, set up an ambush spot, and that was it. So that was kind of how I grew up turkey hunting. And it wasn't until I guided for a few different people off and on for deer throughout the years. And then after I got out of the military in 2014, I went back to guiding for Mesquite Tree Ranch. And it was then that I realized I better get good at calling. Now, I had called in a couple birds before then with the box call before I went in the military. And I just kind of discovered it on my own. That was before the big internet and Facebook and all the social media stuff. So I was basically just learning on my own. And because even at 24, 25, I still didn't know anybody that turkey hunted. But anyway, in 2014, when I got out and started helping Mesquite Tree Ranch, I realized that I better get good at calling, because not all of our hunters are going to be salty hunters. For the most part, people that come pay to turkey hunt are pretty salty themselves. Don't need anybody to call for them or help them. I just kind of point them where I see turkey and all that stuff. But started to realize, we may get a few clients that have never turkey hunted or just started turkey hunting and may actually need me to call for them. So that's kind of when I got into calling. Like I say, I had called in a few birds before I went in the military with just a box call, but never really cared about improving too much, because up until that point I'd killed several birds without ever making a sound to them. And now that I've actually fallen in love with the conversation of calling them to me versus going and being all sneaky and crawling to them, and and that has grown my passion in turkey hunting, just by getting into calling and getting better. I still got a long way to go. I'm dangerous enough to where I can call birds in and feel confident in it, but I still got a long ways to go where I want to get. But that sparked my addiction. I don't have a monopoly on it. Anybody who turkey hunts all the time feels the same way I do. They think about it 24/7. And so looking back on how I grew up in turkey hunting, it's kind of, I feel on the fence about it. I regret all those years that I didn't call to a turkey and discover that. Think about all those hunts I went on, how cool they could have been if I knew anything about calling. But it's also made me better turkey hunter today, and especially guide. It's made me a way better guide today, just with all those years of watching turkey and learning turkey without any influence from me whatsoever. It's made me, like I say, a much better guide, because I can definitely find turkey and set up on turkey with the best of them. My calling's not bad, but it's definitely, I'm kind of middle of the road as far as calling goes. But all those years of watching them without calling has allowed me to understand, what they say to each other, when they say it to each other. So I've learned since getting into calling that it is more important on what you say and when you say it more than how you say it, if that makes sense. How loud or how soft or how much or when to call to them is way more important than sounding like Dave Owens or Scott Ellis or Zachary Downs, all those guys that are that would beat a real turkey in a contest. But the whole conversation of turkey has made me fall in love with it, and that's kind of how I grew up in turkey, and that's where I am now. And the better I get at calling, the more I get into it. Anybody who turkey hunts out there understands exactly what I'm talking about. But going over to the camo side of things, ever since I was a kid and old enough to realize what camo was, it has been a huge part of the whole experience for me. Growing up, I loved blending in, and that as you get older and start to realize things and learn animals and stuff, you learn that you absolutely don't have to have camo to be successful, especially deer hunting. But in my experiences, it does make a difference every now and then. It's not the best sales pitch in the world to get people to buy camo, but you do have those birds that pay attention to everything. And it's not that they may pick you off and say, hey, there's a person there. Just there's some birds, they see anything different because they're in their terrain 24/7, 365. And they know it, and birds are very routine on where they walk. When they're not pressured, they're very routine. They travel the same routes all the time. And so they know their ground better than anything else, definitely better than us. So a lot of times they just see something different, a shine or something different color or different shape. They'll hang up and back out of there, or sometimes they just take off and go running. They don't necessarily have to interpret that it's a person. And so for those birds, camo does make a difference. If you're in good cover, it doesn't matter what camo you wear. You can get away with a lot if you got good cover. But some places just doesn't have the cover, but it's where the birds like to walk. Down to Ranch is a perfect example, and why I felt like we needed a pattern. Down in South Texas, we've never had a really good pattern. Obviously, we've had several hunters come and you know, in the traditional spring turkey patterns and be successful, but that's when they were able to set up in good cover, shade, whatever. But it really opens up our options when we can blend in with a cover between the trees. Because down there we don't have an oak tree on the place. It's all, you know, the South Texas scrub brush and mesquites, and so it benefits you a lot to look like everything in between the trees versus blending in with the tree. Especially when you got to make a move on a bird out in some of those open pastures. If you're wearing a traditional like tree bark patterns, you stick out like a sore thumb when you have to make a move and cross some of those pastures or cross the sendero. You look like a dark blob going across there, and once birds down there see you, they're not going to gobble, and they definitely aren't coming in. But you'll never know they're there. So that's why I needed a pattern, not only just to blend in with the vegetation down there, but something that blends in good when we have to make a move. You know, when we see turkey, we can freeze and they can't quite make us out. And to open up our options at sitting up at places that don't have a lot of cover. You know, they may have one mesquite tree that's within shotgun range, and you're kind of out in the open. And so I needed a pattern, because we have several places like that. So we needed a pattern so that we could set up on those good places so our hunters could be a little bit more successful. It's not a cure-all by any means, and we're not trying to take over the camo world. This is a need that I had, and a few people were interested in it. Said I should start making some more so people could buy it, and here we are. That's kind of how MTR Camo was created. And everything about the pattern, you can see on Gregory behind me, everything about this pattern is designed for spring turkey from a turkey's point of view, and mostly from a hunter's position. That's kind of how it's all designed. It's kind of images of real vegetation that I kind of all put together, and it took about a 3 or 4 year process of getting the right pattern and applying it to material and looking good out in the brush. So that was a long, tedious process where I almost gave up a couple times on it. But I think we finally got it right. At least the turkey are telling me we got it right. We've set out in the middle of nowhere, just out in the pasture, and had turkeys walk right by. So it is working out great. And when I first started this, I intended it to be, pretty much just a Texas thing. And but we're finding out when things green up, it is working out all across the country, and that was not our intention, but it's happening. So that's always pretty cool to see. As far as future things go, I've got some great ideas and some other patterns already in the works, but it's going to take selling this to invest right back into those other patterns and get those out there. So some really cool stuff. I can't wait to get it out, and I hope that it happens. Like I said, they're needs. We're not gonna, I don't want to create a pattern that's already like other patterns out there. I mean, there's already the King of Spring Camo out there. You know, people tell me all the time, it's like, man, that's too much green for my part of the country until the last 2 weeks of the season. Well, I'm not gonna, I tell people all the time, I said, well, if I hunt the southeast somewhere, or anywhere, it doesn't have to be the southeast, anywhere where it's not greened up and it's you know, hardwood bottoms or, you know, whatever, and there's just leaves and bare trees, I'm gonna be in my bottom land. You know, I'm gonna match the hatch. I want results first and foremost. I'm not so proud into thinking that this is gonna work everywhere across the country, because it's not. It's just a need that I had. And so the other designs that I have and I've already gotten the works are kind of those needs too, but in other parts of the country. So they're not going to be like something that's already out there. There's no point in that. I don't have that kind of money to compete with that, and not that I'm trying to compete with anybody. I'm just trying to meet some needs of turkey hunters, because I'm passionate about turkey hunting, and blending in has been a fun part of hunting since I can remember. As far as my family and myself, we know that when we put on camo, a trip to the woods is soon to follow. So it means something to us. It's I guess kind of a rich tradition that was instilled in me as early on as a kid. I knew when I put on camo, we were going in the woods. And so it means more than just, you know, you see it so much on social media. Everybody thinks that everything that comes out, especially the hunting industry, is a gimmick. And, you know, and you hear all the time, well, my grandpa wore flannel and blue jeans and a white t-shirt and all that stuff. And in my line of work as a guide, it's my job. I owe it to my hunters to put them in the most successful position that I can, and everything that I can control, I need to do for my hunters. And I take that same approach when I hunt, or when I take my kids hunting, or my wife hunting. I do everything in my power to put us in the most successful opportunity out there. And if you're turkey hunting, camo does do that. Sometimes you'll get a turkey so, especially if you like use decoys or whatever, so hot and focused in on, they get tunnel vision sometimes on that decoy. You could be wearing bright orange, bright pink, sometimes it don't matter. And then you got those birds, like I talked about earlier, that pay attention to every little thing in their area. And it absolutely matters. The final, I guess, not nail on the coffin, I don't know what the right words would be, but thing that finally kept me going about coming out with MTR Camo was the very first time I took my wife turkey hunting. We had a turkey that was coming to us, and we kind of got stuck out in this pasture. I mean, it had some pretty good trees and stuff out in this pasture, but I didn't really want to sit up there, but I felt like we couldn't go further or back up. I didn't want to get busted. So we set up in that pasture in some trees, had some real bright green trees all behind us. And, you know, of course, we were in a traditional, I think I had multi-cam on, and she had one of the traditional patterns of turkey hunting. And so we set up right there. I didn't think nothing of it. I thought we were set up pretty good. And so we called this turkey in right from the roost, and He gets behind a little small cedar bush and periscopes and takes off. I said, what in the world? I mean, he didn't give us, I mean, it's like that quick. And so I go to, after he walks off, I go to where he was standing and look back at my wife and our setup, and we stuck out like sore thumbs. I mean, we looked like dark blobs sitting in the middle of bright green stuff. And I said, never again. I want every bird. But that kind of lit the fire to keep going with what I had been working on as far as the camo pattern. I hated it because this was a giant tom too. He was big, and that would have been my wife's first one. But anyway, that's kind of what lit my fire and making sure I came out with a camo that would blend in with that bright green stuff and really open up our options. You know, and it's another thing as far as my background, I've been told to use it as advertising. I never will, because I've been told, I was lucky enough when I was in the military to do the one thing that I wanted to do, and that was to go to sniper school. And I was lucky enough to get selected to go to sniper school, deployed as one of our company snipers, and I mean, that was right down my alley. Not to be insensitive or anything, but it really was a lot like hunting. You know, we'd go set up early before the sun came up, and then, you know, you'd see possible targets come out as the sun came up. I mean, I won't go any further than that, but I mean, it's right down my alley for somebody who's been hunting his whole life. You know, basically sitting behind a deer rifle pretty much. And people said, well, you need to use that as advertising for camo. You know, blend it in with the sniper stuff. And I don't want to do that, because that's not why I joined military in the first place. I joined to, you know, serve my country and do something meaningful. And so it's kind of like how I am with the camo and hunting and everything. You know, I've had jobs where I made 6 figures, and then obviously with the Army, the opposite spectrum of that. But I realized, you know, I'm not getting any younger, and camo and blending in with my surroundings when I'm hunting has always been a deep passion of mine, and so I wanted to maybe share that and see where it goes. Because money is I'm definitely not doing this for money, because I won't see a dime from this for quite a while. Every dime that I make off of this goes right back into it, and that's what it's going to take to get it off the ground, if it's ever going to be something, you know, that pays the bills. And so it's all going into new patterns and restocking. I've had to restock a couple of times, thankfully. That's a good thing. But again, it's just I'm not, like I said, I'm not getting any younger, so I want to do something that I'm passionate about, something that is a need and not just a luxury. And it is a need for where I guide all the time. And when things green up, it's pretty hard to beat, no matter where you're hunting. So anyway, it's near and dear to me. I know it's not the same to everybody out there. You always have those people that say, oh, you know, be still and be quiet is the best camo. I 100% agree with that. But like I said, if you out in the turkey woods all the time, camo will make or break you sometimes. It absolutely will. So anyway, that's kind of a rambling on version of of my background and why MTR Camo got started, and kind of the passion behind it. And like I said, I've got some good ideas in the works right now, some patterns that are specifically for spring turkey. And it just so happens that some of our stuff, you know, works out really good for early bow season as well, even though that's not, you know, you can kill a deer in almost anything as long as your breakup's good. So we're going to stick turkey with all of our ideas and stuff that we come out with. It just so happens that it's going to work out for deer hunters too. So especially this next pattern that I got going right now, deer hunters are probably going to love it. But it's going to come into play when things are a lot more dry, just a lot less green in it. And so we're pretty excited to get that going. So anyway, I think I've rambled on enough. I don't think I left, you know, some real important stuff out. But I hope you would give us a try. Feel free anytime to call me, talk to me, whatever, if you want to see what I'm about or see what the camo is about. But all this originated from the need of Mesquite Tree Ranch. That's where I got it. And I thought it would be cool to kind of originate the pattern from vegetation down there, so it's a mixture of vegetation from the ranch. So I thought that would be pretty cool, and I knew I knew this would happen. Some people mentioned it at the NWTF this past February. Why, if it's based on turkey, why is there a deer in the logo? And I knew some die-hard turkey hunters would mention that. Well, this logo is the logo of Mesquite Tree Ranch, and I never wanted to lose that connection because that's where the idea and the need came from. So no matter what happens between the camo and the ranch or me and the ranch, I never wanted to lose that connection, because to me that was more important than selling a couple more shirts, putting a turkey logo on it. It means something to me. So that's why we have a deer in our logo. I know I've already talked about it on our Facebook page, but I just thought I'd share that. So I think that is it. I'll quit rambling. Hopefully I didn't take up too much of your time. But if you ever have any questions, hit us up. Like I say, we keep our Facebook page, our Instagram page up to date quite a bit. That's probably the fastest way to keep up with us and everything that we're doing. And then we obviously have the website, mtrcamo.com. So hope you give us a try and give us a follow. And like I say again, if you ever have any questions, don't hesitate to send me a message or call me or email me or whatever. So good luck the rest of the spring, and yeah, I hope you can give us a try and see what we're all about. Y'all take care.